We all have a story. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. However, we can find joy, hope, and emotional healing even through our most painful moments in life. Let's walk and take this journey of healing together, one step at a time, because your story does not define you. Hey, God's beautiful people, and happy holidays and blessings to you and your family. We are here once again, and God has been faithful to us all. We have made it almost to the end of the year, and we have continued to make the cut, y'all. And, we're here. So, what a blessing. Dr. Niesha here, and welcome back to Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I want to say welcome to you. And I want to take this time to say thank you so much for listening in to this podcast and joining me. If you have not already start following this podcast. I would definitely love for you to do so. And I definitely want to encourage you to share with your loved ones and share it with your friends. I think that we've been having some great conversations so far on the podcast, and we've been sharing stories that have really been hitting home for many, and I've been getting a lot of good feedback and positive feedback about the podcast. So definitely would love for you to share it with your friends. I pray that everyone is having a great holiday season, and I hope that your holiday season is something that you are embracing, whether you are spending your holiday season with family and friends, or whether you're spending your holiday season alone. Holidays are challenging times. Holidays can be fun times. I did an episode a couple of episodes ago just about the holiday bliss and, what people experience during the holidays. However, regardless if you are spending the holidays with people or if you are intentionally spending the holidays alone, or maybe not even intentionally alone, but you have to spend it alone, this is still a time and a season to be grateful and thankful. So I just want you to take a moment and let's use this space to be just that. Allow this space of the holiday season to be a moment and a space of gratefulness and thankfulness, because things could have definitely been different for each and every one of us in a not so positive way. So, be grateful and thankful for the things that have been positive that have happened for you during this holiday season. So, what is your vibe today? Because remember, you control your vibe. Even when someone tries to change your energy, you get to choose to reject it, or either you can stay in a space where you receive what they're trying to give out to you, or either you can create a good space for yourself and not let someone else control how you feel. So my vibe today is tired, I would say. It's been a long week. Definitely in a space where I really just want to curl up in my bed and just lay there. Work has been long this week, and because it was Christmas week, I only got to disconnect one day this week, which was Christmas Day, and take a break. And then I was right back to work, right back at it the next day. This season, holiday season, is tough for so many people, as I just stated not too long ago. And, as my role as a therapist, one of the things that I really like to do is really be in a space where I could be available to provide emotional support to my clients and to my patients that I serve. Because again, I do recognize and understand that the holidays are hard for people. And not just that, but also allowing myself and remember myself during the holiday season, because my dad is not here anymore. And then, honoring my memories of my dad, and just, allow myself to take a minute to just sit and reflect on him, and then giving myself the space that I need emotionally. So it's been a long week. My grandson has been sick this week. So, trying to help my daughter take care of him, that, has been a lot, and just to see him sick, breaks my little heart. It's been a long week. So I would say that my vibe is tired, definitely excited about the rest of the weekend. I am guilty. I'll say today I did work a little bit, but I had a couple of things that I definitely needed to finish up and wanted to challenge myself to finish up but super, super excited about the rest of the weekend and just looking forward to getting somewhere and sitting down. Hopefully get a mani and a pedi before the weekend is over. And then also just really spending some time sitting down and maybe reading a good book. So yeah, that's my vibe today. So we are about to wrap up 2024 and embrace 2025. But I really cannot believe that we are about to end 2024, y'all. This year has absolutely flown by. Like Christmas for me this year wasn't even the same for me. Like I definitely was not in the same space that I have been in the past for Christmas. Because Christmas is one of my favorite holidays and one of my love languages, giving and giving gifts. So I was like, normally in the past, I'm really excited, changing the decorations in the house, making the house look festive for the Christmas season. However, that was definitely not me, y'all, this time. I put the tree up late, didn't wrap gifts until late. And I just didn't even have the shopping bug in me this year. I just was not in a space to go out and spend an enormous amount of money buying gifts. I did buy gifts and I did get everybody something that I wanted to get. However, it just wasn't the same for me. So as I kind of just been like sitting down and thinking about, the transition from 2024 to 2025, one of the things that I recognize is that, during this time of year, people are thinking about the past year and they're reflecting on the things that have happened to them in 2024. And so some people are embracing and thinking about their celebrations and their wins, and then also thinking about their losses and disappointments or even tragedies that have taken place, and just dealing with, different life transitions that maybe didn't feel so good. So with all the things that have happened, and me kind of just thinking about, 2024, there's so many things that I feel that will be unresolved for people, that they will not completely resolve, whether that is completely transitioning from a relationship or dealing with the loss, whatever it may be, that, even though they would like to leave it in 2024 and forget about it, that definitely may not be the case, because when a person experiences something that they want to let go, it's not always that easy, because there is a lasting emotional effect on you that you still have to deal with the residue of the thing or whatever it is, because life presents situations to us that are definitely not easy for us to overcome. And when we think about the things, it may be things that we feel like we want to just get over. But again, sometimes we have to take time and go through a process, because going through a process is what it's going to take for us to get over things, right? So whatever that looks like for you, you may not be in a space to where you can actually just get over something, but you may definitely have to do the work and go through the process. So as much as we wish that we can get over things, and as much as we wish that things can be so much simpler to deal with, dealing with those details involved of different situations and the emotional effect of the situations just makes it so much more difficult. And so when I think about process and going through the process of things, whether that's healing or whether that's getting through a struggle that maybe we've had, it's still a process, and going through that process is so difficult. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what that looks like as far as like going through the process and not being able to easily get over things, but definitely have to challenge ourselves to go through the process. So when I sit and think about and reflect about my year in 2024, and when I really take a personal look at myself and the things that I have experienced and the things that I have went through in 2024, one of the things that I can say is that there definitely has been a lot of blessings and wonderful things that have happened for me this year. My daughter graduated from high school. I got married. I had a new grandbaby. I obtained my doctorate degree. I started my podcast. I accomplished some business goals. I started some new business adventures, obtained some materialistic things, and some other things that have been good and positive for me this year. However, when I think about the flip side of things, there has also been some personal transitions that have taken place for me that have really been difficult. I've had to really sit and be honest with some of my truths and really address some areas in my life that have not felt good for me. And I really have had to spend some time processing those things. And as I began to do that, and as I began to do that work of just processing those things, I realized that some of the things that I have experienced, the only way I can get through these things is that I really have to go through the process of whatever these things are. So for me, that's really been like identifying my feelings, knowing what space those situations have put me in, and really taking the time to take the necessary steps to put me in a better place. Now, I know some of you may think that as therapists that we are supposed to always have it together, and that because we can help other people get through their challenges and navigate through different spaces in their lives, that we should so easily be able to do that for ourselves. However, that is not always the case. Sometimes we really have to sit down and reflect and think about some of the things that are hard truths for us, and really think about, okay, how am I going to get through this? Like, how do I deal with my emotions that I'm dealing with as a result of whatever the thing may be, and how do I really get through it? So this is when I really realized that I really have to deal with these things and not just get over them, because apparently they're not something that I have just gotten over, but there are things that are still lingering around. So this is when I realized that I definitely have to deal with it, deal with the good, the bad, the ugly, because I realized that I was not over whatever these different things are that I've experienced. And I realized that no, I have to deal with my emotions, right? I have to deal with these emotions that I'm sitting with as a result of the thing and the things that I have to get through. So when I was thinking about getting over some of the things and getting over something, and thinking about when we are over something, it's us being in a space where we are like done, completely done, that we're finished, and that we're completely done with the thing or the experience or whatever it may be, and that we don't think about it anymore. And if we do think about it, that it doesn't have a lasting emotional effect on us. However, when I think about when we are going through something just looks like us starting from one end of a thing until we get all the way through to the other end of the thing. So that's basically really, really learning how to see something through all the way through the end. So that means getting through it, even with the in-betweens, the bumps in the roads, the stops along the way, really just starting from the beginning of a thing and getting to the end of the thing. So it really hit me that in life, there are really going to be some things that we can't get over. As much as we want to find the easy way, the fast way, the simplest way to get over something, there are just going to be some of those things that we cannot get over, and that we are really going to have to learn how to go through the thing. So not over, but through the thing. And while we're going through, one of the things that we may see is that when we are taking the steps to get through something, we may find ourselves making progress along the way, and we may feel good about that. But then as we see ourselves making progress, we might backslide and we might go backwards. Sometimes when we're going through the process of something, we stop and we take breaks, and then we also have breakdowns. We may get tired along the way. However, regardless of how we get through it and how we get to the end, we cannot get around We can't get around it without going through it. So when I think about going through something and what that looks like, for me, it just looks like, processing our emotions, being honest with our truths, and doing the work that it's going to take for us to get through it. Even when we have those breakdowns, even when we backslide along the way, the ultimate goal is just for us to get through it. So I was thinking about when I was thinking about this podcast episode, and as I'm really, recording this podcast episode, really reflecting on my own personal truths and my own personal situations and things that I've been reflecting on in 2024. So I thought about it that, today I really just want to stop in and really encourage you as you transition from, 2024 into 2025. I really want to encourage you to start doing some self-reflection if you have not already. And so when I think about, when the new year comes around, I know that a lot of people make New Year's resolutions or New Year's challenges for themselves of things that they want to do different in the new year, things that maybe they see that, this is not something that I was excited about. This is not something that I was proud about this year. And this is something that I want to do different in the new year. So when you start doing your self-reflection and thinking about the transition into 2025, I just really want you to reflect back on 2024. And then I want you to take a step further and go back even further if you have to. Think about those things that you've been trying to get over. And think about those things that you feel like you thought you were good, you thought you were healed from, or you felt like, oh, that's my past, or I don't do that anymore, or I'm good, I'm over that. I want you to think about those things. And I really want you to think about the things that you feel like you've still been struggling with. The thing that you find yourself making progress after a good amount of time, but then you see yourself taking 5 steps backwards. What are those things or that thing that you're feeling guilty about or that you're feeling shameful about? What is that trial that you are currently in that you feel won't let you progress in life? Or that thing that you feel is holding you back or holding you hostage? What is that relationship, that friendship that you feel like, have I got to the end of this relationship? Have I really overcome this relationship? Are there some things that I look for that I want more from in a friendship that I've allowed myself to settle? What is that trauma that you still find yourself getting triggered from and dealing with those emotional effects of? What is that relationship that keeps hurting you? I really want you to take a moment and I really want you to think about it. And on this podcast, in this podcast episode, this is a time that I really, really, really want you to be intentional. And I really want you to think about it. I want you to get that thing or those things in your mind and really be honest with yourself. And I want you to tell yourself, okay, if this is something that you know that you've been trying to get over and you continue to find yourself still dealing with it, then that's a good sign. That's a telltale sign that this is something that you can't just get over, but this is something that you're going to have to do the process to get through. So you may ask me, Dr. Niesha, how do I get through this thing? You may be wondering like, okay, I've been trying to get through this thing and it feels like I have made good progress. I have taken a lot to step forward, but it seems like when I feel like I'm almost over it, or I'm almost through it, that I take 10 steps backwards. So let's walk this thing out together. So I want to offer you some tools that I feel like can help you. And then also that I feel like can help me, because today I'm preaching to the choir, y'all. I'm not just talking to you as a guest, or as a person that is, visiting the podcast episode as a listener and listening to this podcast episode today. But today I am walking in my truth and finding myself in this podcast as well. And so I'm going to preach to the choir. So let's talk about some tools and strategies that I'm going to offer us to help us to get through the things that we may be dealing with. First and foremost, let us acknowledge the thing and be honest about how it is affecting us. So acknowledge whatever that thing or those things are. Again, if that's a relationship, if that's a friendship, if that's the loss of something, the loss of someone, if that's something that we have been dealing with feelings of guilt and shame because of something that we have brought on ourselves, whatever it may be, acknowledge the thing and be honest and tell ourselves, how is this affecting us? The second thing is that I want us to change our perspective about it. I want us to really take some time and to look at that thing or those things from a different angle. And as we do this will help us to change our mindset about how we're going to deal with it and how we are going to get through it. So changing our perspective about it, not looking at it as something that is going to be impossible for us to get through and impossible for us to accomplish, but knowing that if we change our perspective about it and that if we look at it from a different angle, that this will really help shift our mindset of how we're going to get through the thing. The next thing is I want us to learn how to embrace our emotional experience. So what do you mean by that, Dr. Niesha? What do you mean by embracing your emotional experience? I want you to feel the anger, the hurt, the sadness, the rejection, the frustration, the guilt, the shame, whatever you're feeling. I want you to embrace your emotional experience. And I want you to sit with that. I want you to sit with that and be honest with yourself about how the thing is making you feel and has made you feel. And I want you to sit with that. But the thing is that I don't want you to sit with it too long, because I don't want you to get caught up in a space of where you're letting your anger overtake you. And now your anger is affecting the things that you do and the decisions that you make and the connections that you make and the interactions that you have with others. Definitely want you to embrace your emotional experience, but know that, okay, whatever this emotion is that I'm experiencing, it's okay for me to sit with it. However, we also have to do something about it. So the next thing I want us to see is that I want us to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's see ourselves getting out of it, and let's see ourselves getting to the other end of the thing. So remember, when we go through something, it starts at one end of a thing, and you have to see yourself all the way to the end. So in order for us to see ourselves and to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we really have to get in a space to where we can speak to ourselves and we can tell ourselves that things like, we're going to get through this. Tell ourselves positive things, that this doesn't feel good, but things are going to get better. I don't really know how I'm going to get through this, but I know that I'm going to get through this. I know that if I set healthy boundaries for myself and if I set healthy boundaries with others, that these are the things that are going to help me. So when we discover more details about how to get through the process, this is when our focus will change. So basically, sometimes when we're going through something, we can have tunnel vision, right? And so that means that our peripheral is not working, and that, some of the things that we need to help us along the way, we don't see it because our eyes are focused and we have tunnel vision. And sometimes we don't see all of the details and what it's going to take to help us get through the thing. So as we focus on the light at the end of the tunnel, I don't want us to completely have tunnel vision, but I want us to be able to see the details of what it's going to take for us to get through it and see ourselves getting through it. The next thing is I want us to let go of the things that we cannot control, right? So we definitely, and I'm saying we, because I'm guilty sometimes, that we definitely get caught up in wanting to change things or wanting things to be different for us. But we get caught up in thinking about the things that we cannot control. And so sometimes when we get fixated on the things that we cannot control, it causes us a lot of anxiety, it causes us depression, and it also causes us to lose sight of the things that are within our control that we need to focus on to get through something. So, for example, if we are dealing with a sickness, the loss of a relationship, we cannot turn back the hands of time. We cannot change things that have already happened or that have already taken place. So what good does it do for us to sit and think about the things that we cannot control? When we lose a loved one, that one right there is so hard for so many people. That, we often think about, things that we could have done different and things that we want to change. But again, we have to relinquish our grip on what we cannot control, because thinking about going back in time and changing things is not really something that we can do. That's not the reality of how things are. So with that being said, we really, really have to let go of the things that we cannot control and really shift our focus to the things that we can control. Let's get back on track and let's focus on the things that are within our control. The next thing I want to offer us is find the good in a thing. So, what is the positive in this situation that we're going through, whatever it may be? I'll go back to grief and loss. If it's the loss of a loved one, what are the good memories that you can think about in regards to the loved one? If it's a situation where you're dealing with guilt and shame, okay, what were some of the positive things that you experienced in that situation? Even though the guilt and shame is plaguing you, what were some of the good things in the situation? Because sometimes we experience things in life that may not feel good all the time, but there were parts in spaces in whatever that we've dealt with that were moments that felt good or moments that made us feel good. So what are the positives in the situation? Think about the good things. And then also I want you to focus on what is going to be the good thing when we get through the situation. Whatever it may look like, whatever you're dealing with, what is going to be some positive outcomes when we get through the situations. So when you think about the positives, I really want you to get creative with your thought process, because again, you have to remember that sometimes when we're going through something, it's so easy to see all the negativity, and it's very hard sometimes to point out the positives. But I really, really want you to focus on what is the positives, even if that's just you telling yourself that I woke up this morning. I got dressed and I took a shower. That is the positive. If you are just showing up for yourself every day in the best way that you can, that is a positive. But whatever it looks like for you, find the good in the thing. Find the good in the thing. Find the good in the outcome of what it's going to be once you get through it. Don't lose sight of what could be good, and don't stay focused on the negative. But yes, definitely find the good in the thing. The next thing is that I want to encourage us to engage in healthy coping mechanisms that keep us grounded. So if we think about when we're going through something, remember earlier I talked about, okay, we can backslide, we might stop, we might take a break, we might get discouraged, we might want to give up, we may want to give up on life. But the one thing that we have to remember is that we have to keep ourselves grounded. We have to keep ourselves in a position, in a posture of moving forward, even when we don't feel like it. Even if we have to stop and take a break, we can only take a break for so long, right? Because the more that we stop and take breaks, that hinders our process and it hinders our progress of how fast we're going to get through a thing. So remember, engage in healthy coping mechanisms that are going to keep you grounded. So that can just look like us being positive, doing positive self-talk, saying positive affirmations, reading, meditating on God, meditating on whatever, reshifts your focus, doing breathing exercises, physical exercise, connecting with others who we feel like are our support system, journaling, whatever that looks like for you. Engage in healthy coping mechanisms, because again, this is going to be something that's going to help us get through. The next thing is think about therapy. If you feel that you are really struggling to do it on your own, think about therapy. So I've shared with you guys so many times that I have a therapist, and I am not ashamed to say that I have a therapist because, again, even though my professional role is a therapist, I am still human, and I still have my own things that I deal with, my own challenges in life. And yes, there are quite a bit of times that I could talk myself through things, and I can talk myself through the process of getting through something. However, there are a lot of times that I still need a support. I still need somebody that I can call and talk to that can help me navigate through my difficult times and my challenges in life. So definitely think about therapy. If you feel like you're struggling to do it on your own, remember, you do not have to be in a space where you are doing things on your own, and you do not have to try to get through challenges in life by yourself. But you can find somebody that can help you navigate through life. And if that is a therapist, definitely make sure that you are connecting with the therapist. So the last thing that I want to offer today on this podcast to help us to learn how to get through things is that let's keep our head up and keep moving forward. Even if this looks like us doing it blind, even if we're doing it scared, and even if we're doing it hurting along the way, let's keep our head up and just keep moving. One of the things that I've discovered is that going through hard times in life is a part of our human experience. And even though sometimes other people experience more hard times than what somebody else may experience, we all have moments in our life where we are going to experience a hard time. But the one thing that we have to understand and know that we can get through it. We can do it, and we can get through it effectively if we really, really just do the work. Understanding that, this is not a race. Sometimes some process is going to take longer than others. Some things we can get through faster. Some things may take longer. But just understanding and know that this is not a race. We have to keep our head up. We have to keep moving forward. We're going to bump our head along the way. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall. But we just can't let ourselves fall and stay there. But we have to find hope and keep encouraging ourselves to move forward, and just understand that everything that we go through, that it may not feel good, but that there's definitely value in the things that we go through. And there's definitely value when we invest into ourselves and invest into our self-worth and invest into encouraging and motivating ourselves to keep moving forward. That, don't give up. Even during the hard times, even when it feels like, I really, really don't know how I'm going to keep going through this. Know that you can get through it. And remember, sometimes you have to do it scared. Sometimes you have to do it hurting. Sometimes you have to do it setting boundaries and reshifting your boundaries. And if that is the case, that is okay. But don't stop. Just keep moving, keep moving forward, because you're going to get through this. So if you don't take anything else from this episode today, I really want you to know that getting over something is not always how life is going to be, as much as we would like it to be. And I really want you to know that this could apply to anything. I know I've shared a few examples of things that, that we get over and the things that we have to go through, but this can really apply to anything. I don't know everyone's personal situations and what you're dealing with. We're living in a different time, and we're living in a different world. And, whatever place that you are in, whatever nation that you are in, whatever country that you are in, all over the globe and all over the world, I don't know your each and individual situations. But what I do know is that we all experience things that are really, really tough sometimes, and that it takes a lot for us to really work on trying to get through something. Because again, everything that we experience, we're not just going to be able to get over, but we're really going to have to do the work to get through it. So as you think about this journey in life, and as you think about your own personal journey, if you don't take anything else from this podcast, I just want you to know that you can get through it. You can get through it, and just know that when that happens, that is so worth it to just do the work to get to the end. when we get through the end, we feel so much better. We feel so much better emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. Sometimes we have to deal with hard situations. Sometimes we have to have hard conversations with ourselves and with others. However, know that as we are going through things in life and as we are going through the process, don't lose sight of hope. Don't lose sight of God. Don't lose sight of what's on the other end of the process. Just know that you can get through it. It's a journey sometimes, but we definitely can get through it together. Dr. Niesha here. Until next time, peace and blessings to you all. I pray that the rest of your 2024 is a time of reflection and a time of motivation and encouragement for you. And know that whatever is coming your way in 2025, that you are equipped to get through it. You are equipped to keep moving forward, and you are equipped to see the value in all of the things that we experience in life. So with that being said, I'll see you all in 2025. Blessings and peace to you all.